Hello guys, today I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks on Photoshop. I'm not the best by any means, but yeah,
I know quite a bit about Photoshop.
so I just want to share some information. First of all, what I would recommend before you start off, there's a few sites. Dafont.com is pretty much the website where you go to find all of the fonts that you want to use. But make sure that you read here, this says for personal use only, so you can't monetize anything that you make with this font unless it says 100% free. And there are other fonts where you actually have to buy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Another website I'd recommend is this, where pretty much you can get free stock photos and video. So I'd recommend just find a decent photo and just download it and follow along with the tutorial. So here I have the photo that I picked. I don't know why, but this one's kind of low quality. I don't know. The person probably on Pixels had a bad camera. But anyway, I'm going to be showing you around the toolbox section. So basically, up here is the selection tool. You can move the different layers around and images around if you have any. And here, these are the marquee tools. So you can select different types of shapes in the image. So let's say I do that. I can press Ctrl C and then Ctrl V to copy that image and put it on another layer. So if you press the little eye here, it's going to minimize it and it's going to only show the image that you've copied. This is a lasso tool. Basically what you can do is just outline the image that you're using. I'm just gonna do this really rough, but you can spend way more time on this. Alright, here you go. It's pretty rough, but yeah. And then if you want it to be more like free flowing, you can use the one that's just like a circle instead of like the polygon, which allows you to be completely custom and do your own thing. Next tool up is the magic wand tool. You press on like a color in the image and it's gonna select everything that looks exactly like it. So these black bars, it's gonna select all of that. It's not completely accurate, so it does go like onto other parts which aren't the same. You can change that by going up here on tolerance, like decreasing it to 10. It's gonna have less image. If you increase more, it's gonna select, like, be more lenient on what it selects. I'd keep it around 20 to 10, depending on the image that I'm working with. Also, there's a quick selection tool, which is pretty much the same as the magic wand tool, but so if you want this, you have to, you can have more than one color in this selection. Next is the crop tool. You can basically just crop your image like so, and that's gonna remove the black bars or whatever you want to remove from the whole image, like change the actual resolution of it. Next is the eyedropper tool. If you look over here, you can just press on any image and it's just going to copy the exact color that it sees on that image. So if I press on its glasses, it's going to go black. If I press on his skin tone, it's going to go to skin tone white. That's pretty self-explanatory. Now this is the content aware tool. There's a lot more in this section as well, which I'll go through. Basically what the content aware tool allows for is you can move the image here to, like, I don't know, over here, and it's gonna try to like mix in with the surrounding area so it looks like it belongs there. because if you don't use it, if you just use the rectangular tool, just move up here, it doesn't look that like it, you know, it belongs. It's not smooth, and yeah. Next up is the healing brush tool. So if you have any blemishes or anything, you can just size down the brush. To do that, you can press the button right next to the P and the enter button, which are the brackets, to get it bigger and smaller. The smaller is on the left, right is bigger. So you'd want to get to the size of the blemish that there is, and then just click. For this specific one, the healing brush tool, you have to have an area of reference. So hold Alt and then press on an area, and then it's just gonna, there you go. It's gonna copy the image from there onto here. If you want to use the spot healing brush tool though, you don't have to press Alt at all. You can just press it and it's gonna do it itself, which is pretty useful for cleaning up blemishes and spots. Next up is the brush tool, where you can pretty much just draw around in the image. To change color, just go into bottom left, and then you have this color picker. You can just slide this up and down, which changes the color, and this makes it darker. If you go over here, this makes it lighter. This is like in the middle. So you can just play around with that, get the color you want, and then, I don't know, you can just color in. If you want it to be more, if you want the edges of the paintbrush to be like that, you know how you notice how it's not smoothed around the edges. You put the hardness to 100. If you want it to be soft, you put it close to 0 or at 0, which makes the edges really smooth. Another thing I would like to mention is if you go into mode and then you go into overlay, what it's going to allow you to do is color in the layer but not actually color it completely through. It's going to make it seem as if like you're actually putting the paint on the objects.
By this I mean, normally if you use the paintbrush tool, you won't be able to see the layer beneath it, but this way it merges with the layer.
Next up is the eraser tool. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can erase stuff with it. It's kind of the same with the brush tool. You can decrease the hardness, increase it. It's going to make it smoother or less smooth. But make sure if you're going to paint on the image, you want to make a new layer by going onto the bottom right here next to the garbage can. There you go. So now if you erase here, it's just going to erase the layer that you painted on, not the whole picture. So that would help. If you make a mistake, you won't have to sacrifice the background layer, only the layer that you painted on. Next up is the blur tool. You can make images blurry, pretty self-explanatory. And this is the sharpen tool, which is, if we blur it up, we can unblur it. So basically after you have that, this is a smudge tool. You can, you know, basically smudge the image as if it was like wet. But if you want a more accurate way of like distorting the image, go into filter and then liquefy. It's gonna open up this menu. You can zoom in, make your thing smaller, and this one shrinks the image right here. The pucker tool. This one lets you bring images, you know. like so. And then the burn tool, what that does is pretty much just make things darker. The dodge tool is the opposite of that, makes things lighter. Then we go to the pen tool, which is very similar to this tool, the lasso tool, but you can be more precise because it allows you to actually add curves, as you see here. It's pretty difficult to explain how it works, and even like, you know, people who are pretty good at Photoshop still struggle with this tool. I definitely don't use it. I tried not to use it as much as possible because it's just kind of annoying, but it is very useful at times. Look, there's a semi-decent curve which you wouldn't really get with the lasso tool because you have to click to make the selections, whereas with the pen tool you can press on one point and then press and hold on the other point and drag out, and this part becomes the selection. So there you go. To make an actual selection, you press right click and press make selection. There you go. Last one is the typing tool. You go up here, top left, you have all these different fonts you can get from that font, and there's already installed fonts as well. And you can just press anywhere on the image and write whatever you want. Press on the image, press on the text again. You can select all of it and then go to the top. You can change the color as you desire. I like a green. There we go. To move the text, press Ctrl and then T. You can move it around. To make it bigger and smaller, hold Shift and you can do that. If you want it to make it bigger and smaller but keep it on the same place, hold Shift and Alt, and then you can move it like that. That's pretty much it. That's the basics of Photoshop. To save this image, you go on File, Save As, and then you can save it as a Photoshop file, which allows you to edit it in the future, or you can save it as a JPEG or a PNG.